paint me a picture, something vivid, something I can relate to, something that when I'm reading your content, I'm able to make that image appear in my brain, in my head, so I can see it. That's what good content and email marketing writers do. We use this descriptive phraseology and words and descriptions to help paint a picture. So when the reader is reading it, it relates to them directly, straight to the point, and the image is extremely vivid. We're going to go over an email that we wrote that does exactly this. So stay tuned. Let's roll the intro. Welcome back, everyone. And as the intro mentioned, we're going to go over some very descriptive techniques to writing your content, mainly your email marketing. A little bit about me. I've been the owner of the Outdoor Writing Company for over 25 years and the creator and lead instructor here at the Copy Shop. Now, we're going to go over an email that we wrote as a training exercise inside the Copy Shop. I'm going to break it down because we really didn't do that before. We're going to do it now because it's a very descriptive email. And we're going to screen share that real quick here. But before we do that, one thing that we as content providers have to focus on is the ability to capture the reader's attention, capture their brain, persuade them to think the way we want them to think. One very good technique to do that is being descriptive in your content, painting a picture for the reader to find, to discover, to absorb, to understand, to imprint in their brain. Once you get the hang, the skill set, the hang of doing that, your content is going to elevate so far above and beyond all these other content writers out there. These skill sets are not just, oh, do this, do that, do this, do that. Here at the Copy Shop, we go over in detail why these matter. So let's look at that screenshot. Okay, here is a really good example of descriptive writing. And you'll see as we go through this how it actually paints a picture for the reader and how we use getting deep inside the reader's brain to address a certain target audience. So we're going to read it, then I'm going to go back through it and break it down. Introducing Hello Cookies, saucer size chocolate chip cookies. Best place for chocolate? Your stomach. Better save room for dessert. No, wait, the meal is the dessert. Hey, Tom Hutchins, the gourmet baker here. I remember as a kid growing up in Galveston, Texas, we would always get these giant chocolate chip cookies from the bakery in Old Town named Hello Cookies because they were one hell of a big cookie. As kids, we would save up our change from our lunch money, along with raking leaves and cutting grass, heck, anything we could find, just to pitch in for that $3.50 cookie that we would split between us. These cookies are so big, they barely fit on a saucer plate, filled with giant chunks of the sweetest chocolate you ever tasted. In the summer, the chocolate would melt, and we would play rock, scissors, and paper to see who got the chance to get all that smeared, delicious, incredible dark chocolate from inside that wax paper wrapper. And in the winter, it would freeze to that same paper. You would have to gently pull the chocolate from the wax paper, being ever so careful as to not pull the entire cookie apart doing so. We never read the labels that told us how the chocolate was made. We simply wanted our part of that giant, wonderful tasting morsel of goodness. Mr. Simpkins, the baker, told us the best place to store chocolate is in your stomach. Hello cookies are a whole lot of chocolate surrounded by a little bit of cookie, made from the heart with goodness from the earth. So the next time you have the urge to splurge on some sweet chocolate goodness, pick up a box of Hello cookies from your local Walmart. And while there, don't forget the ice cream to go along with them. For retailers, location, shipping information, and more goodness than you could possibly stand, visit www.hellocookies.com/info. Now let's go all the way back up to the top here and break this down. So the subject line, best place for chocolate, your stomach. It's slightly disruptive. It's written in bold with an exclamation point. So when the reader is reading it, they know that it's something of importance. The preview line, better save room for dessert. No, wait, the meal is the dessert. The preview line supports the subject line. Then we have the slight introduction. Hey, Tom Hutchins, the gourmet baker here. I remember as a kid growing up in Galveston, Texas. Let's stop right there for a second. The intro is very basic. Nobody really knows who Tom Hutchins, the gourmet baker, is. But they do relate to Galveston, Texas. So if they put the name, Tom Hutchins, Galveston, Texas, they kind of have an idea in their mind already. Next, we would always get these giant chocolate chip cookies from the bakery in Old Town named Hello Cookies because they were one hell of a big cookie. Now, we're using this terminology, this phrase, these words, because we want to reach out to that target audience. That target audience is in a certain age bracket, a certain mindset, a certain demographic. In the South, the Southwest here in the United States, the word hella is really big, and it's used in a lot of different areas. That's a hella big truck you got there. That's a hell of a problem we got. And it's just a dialect change that's very relatable to the Southwest area where the cowboys are at, especially in Texas. As a kid, we would save up our change from our lunch money, along with raking leaves and cutting grass. Heck, anything we could find, just to pitch in for that $3.50 cookie that we would split between us. This right here, as a kid, we would save up our change from our lunch money. That hasn't happened in 20 years or more. So that narrows it down to the audience as being an older audience, which relates to Hello Cookies. An older audience is going to be using that phrase, that terminology, more than a modern day audience would. $3.50. That's not a whole lot of money. It was back then, it's not now. The next line, these cookies are so big they barely fit on a saucer plate. When was the last time a modern day reader heard the word saucer plate? And do they even know what it is? Now, 20, 30, 40 years ago, this is very common, even older. This is very common because a saucer would be what the coffee cup would sit on or the teacup would sit on. And the desserts would be on the saucer with the teacup. Older times, different audience, older audience, different terminology. Cutting grass, saving money from saving the extra money from their lunches. This is all directed towards an older audience. Because we've done what? We've gotten deep inside the reader's brain. We've done our research on whom this is going to go out to. In the summer, we would play rock, scissors, and paper. Everybody's heard rock, scissors, paper. Very common 30, 40 years ago for kids to do this to make a decision. And who would get a chance to get all that smeared, delicious, melted, incredible dark chocolate from inside that wax paper wrapper? Wax paper wrapper. Still used today, not as common as it used to be 30, 40 years ago. Whenever you walk into a deli and a donut shop, they grab wax paper, they grab the donut, the pastry, whatever it is, and they hand it to you. Nowadays, they just wear gloves. And in the winter, it would freeze to that same paper. Now, this is very important because 20, 30, 40 years ago, kids were outside no matter what the weather was. Get out that door, get out and do something. There was no internet. There were no computers. Designed to reach a different audience. This is why we get deep inside the reader's brain. These are just some of the phrases and terminology that you look for that cater to that audience that you're writing the message for. Very important. And since it's going out to a different audience, using the terminology that they're familiar with is how you react and paint the picture for that audience. You would have to gently pull the chocolate from the wax paper, being ever so careful as to not to pull the entire cookie apart doing so. We never read the labels that told us how the chocolate was made. We simply wanted our part of that giant, wonderful tasting morsel of goodness. Well, they didn't have labels back then. So that phrase, that little sentence right there, we never read the labels because there were none. The reader, the targeted audience, is going to say and think just that. They're going to see, think, and relate just that. We never had labels on anything. And that's how it was. And as we continue, we simply wanted our part of the giant, wonderful tasting morsel of goodness. Mr. Simpkins, the baker, told us the best place to store chocolate is in your stomach. Hello cookies are a whole lot of chocolate surrounded by a little bit of cookie, made from the heart with the goodness from the earth. Made from the heart with goodness from the earth. That is old school talk. That is how a lot of the old school bakeries and markets would write their content. Fresh from the earth. No additives. So this, again, relates to a different age bracket of the audience. So next time you have the urge to splurge on some sweet chocolate goodness, pick up a box of Hello Cookies from your local Walmart. And while there, don't forget the ice cream to go along with them. Different audience, different area, different time. Okay? They're going to relate to the Walmart. They're going to relate to picking up ice cream to go along with these tasty morsel treats. This is a very good example of how to write descriptive nature to paint a picture for the audience. Now let's get back to the video. Now, as you can tell, that was a very descriptive piece of content. And it just goes to show you how we, as writers, really need to know more about that target audience. Whom are we writing for? So you can see the difference of the age bracket, the descriptive nature, the phraseology. All of that paints a very vivid image for that specific target audience. Now, as a good content writer, this is something you need to know how to do and put it into good practice when it's needed. No other course provider or content creation course or anybody out there teaches this type of detailed content instructions. Nobody does. Nobody but us here at the Copy Shop. So leave a comment down below. Let us know if you found this helpful or not. What direction that you want to go into. Leave some suggestions. Let us know what you're thinking about, what you want to have covered in the near future. Don't forget, link to the Discord. Sign up for the Discord. Sign up for the Copy Cup membership because it's free. And you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of detailed instructions just like this to help you become a better writer.